What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022. Now, this device is yet another iteration in the very popular series of Moto G Stylus devices. So last year, we had the Moto G Stylus 2021, and then the year prior to that, we had the Moto G Stylus 2020. Now, each of these phones does feature its own unique design, but each year, Motorola does make various changes. And some of these changes tend to be for the good, and sometimes the phone is downgraded in different aspects. Now, the good news though is that it looks like so far the Moto G Stylus 2022 is better than the 2021 model in pretty much every way. But stay tuned for my dedicated comparison video between this phone and that phone to really see all the various differences. Now, if you're interested in getting a Moto G Stylus 2022 for yourself, I will be linking to it in the video description to several different retailers, and I'm sure as time goes on, this phone is going to be offered at various carriers as well. Now, as of now, this device does feature an MSRP of $299 for the factory unlocked model of it, but again, prices likely will change as time goes on, and the various carriers tend to offer even better deals on their own. Now, before I show you a variety of different things about the device, let's take a closer look and see what all comes included here in the box. So here is the box for the Moto G Stylus 2022. You can see right there, Moto G Stylus. Then on the back of the box, just some regulatory information. And then we don't have a ton of stuff included here, but we do have some literature. We also have a SIM card removal tool. We have a 10-watt USB wall adapter. And we have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. Now with this device, we have a very large 6.8-inch display. Now, this display features IPS LCD technology, and it is a 90 Hz display. So we do have a little bit of a faster refresh rate compared to other phones that run at 60 Hz. Now, the display resolution is 1080p. We're getting a PPI of 396. We're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor here, which is actually ideal for web browsing and going through social media feeds, for example. And we have an 84.6% screen-to-body ratio. So in general, pretty small bezels all throughout. We do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel, and then up top here, we do have a hole punch for the front-facing camera. Now, that front-facing camera is 16 megapixels, and stay tuned for my full review of this device, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from it. But in general, I do think this is a very nice display. Colors look really good here. Things are crisp and clear. So in general, I'm at least really glad that it is also 1080p. Now internally, with the Moto G Stylus 2022, we're getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and along with that, we're getting microSD card expansion. So it is really good that we're getting that much internal storage with the phone, because apps continue to get bigger and bigger, it seems like, and people in general tend to do more and more with their devices that involve using up space. So having that much storage is really good, and then having that option to add in a microSD card to offload some photos and videos, for example, makes it even better. Now, there is no wireless charging, unfortunately, with the Moto G Stylus 2022, but the device does feature a fingerprint sensor on the power button. So let's give that a try right now. Very quick, one more time. Very fast and very responsive. In general, I'm a big fan of having the placement of that fingerprint sensor being right there on the power button, because it does make it really convenient, and then I also do appreciate that it does work really well. Now, in addition to that, this device also supports face unlock, so I do appreciate that we do have multiple methods here for getting into the phone. Now, this device features a triple camera setup on the back with a 50 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can take photos at up to 118 degrees, and we have a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera to assist with portrait mode. And this phone does have portrait mode for both the rear and front cameras, which is certainly a really good thing. Actually, I want to clarify, the depth sensing camera is actually a macro camera, but the phone also does have portrait mode for the front and rear cameras. So when you're in the camera app, here's how things look with the main camera. Then you can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera to fit a lot more content into the frame. And then you can switch over to the macro camera to get very close up and have things be in really good detail. And then you can see in the menu here, we have a bunch of other options as well. So there's portrait, cutout, spot color, night vision, cinematograph, panorama, group selfie, ultra res, live filter, pro, and dual capture. And then we also have some other options as well for video. But we'll go over to portrait mode right now, and you can get those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can then flip around and do the same thing with the front-facing camera. There's me right there. And then we can take standard selfies as well if you want to, which is really good. So in general, you're getting a lot of different cameras with this device, and I'm really looking forward to testing all these out for the full review. Now internally with this device, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM, as well as the MediaTek Helio G88 processor. So 6 gigs of RAM is certainly quite a bit there, and then having the G88 does make this a decently powerful phone. One downside though with it is that this device does not support 5G connectivity. Now I know that about 6 months or so ago, there was the Moto G Stylus 5G, which was launched, which was kind of similar to the 2021 model of the Moto G Stylus, but of course gave us 5G abilities. So it is interesting that with the Moto G Stylus 2022, there is no 5G connectivity enabled here on the device, nor do I believe that it's even possible given the processor that we do have. So I'd imagine that we probably will be getting a Moto G Stylus 2022 5G model at some point in 2022, but at least for this model of the device, it does not have the ability to work with 5G. So that is a bit disappointing, but I suppose that's not necessarily a deal breaker for a lot of people out there, but it is something worth keeping in mind. Now, at least as far as the performance goes of the actual device itself, I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test with it, and I'll show you the scores from that test right now. But essentially, I got a single core score of 369 and a multi-core score of 1324. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of whether or not the Moto G Stylus 2022 is going to be a performance upgrade for you. Now, one downside about this phone is that it does not support 4K video recording. So video recording does max out at 1080p at 60 FPS with the rear camera and 1080p at 30 FPS with the front. So I do wish that it did support 4K video recording, especially considering that 2 generations ago with the 2021 model of this phone, we did get 4K video recording. Now with the Moto G Stylus 2022, we're getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, which is certainly quite a bit of battery capacity. So I'd imagine that you'll be getting some pretty good battery life out of this phone. Now the software that we're getting here is Android 11, and I'm not sure if, when, or ever it will be getting Android 12. Now Android 12 has actually been out for quite a while at this point, so it is disappointing that the phone doesn't come with it, but I certainly hope that at some point, maybe this year or early next year, it will finally be updated to that newer version of the software. Now typically, Motorola isn't really that great when it comes to updating their phones to newer versions of Android. They're not like Samsung, for example, where now they're pledging to give their A-series phones about 3 or 4 years of full software updates. So we'll have to see what happens here, but I would say that if you get this phone, don't plan on getting too many major software updates. But on the other hand, I certainly want to be optimistic and hope that Motorola at least gives this phone Android 12. Now, unfortunately, with the Moto G Stylus 2022, there is no NFC. So if you do like to make mobile contactless payments with your device, then you will not be able to do that here. But now that we've gone over the various specifications and highlights of the phone, let's now take a closer look at the hardware. Now, I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here, but we do have that hole punch for the front-facing camera and pretty small bezels all throughout. Now, this device is made completely out of plastic, besides the front panel, which is glass, but that being said, it still does feel of decent quality. Now, taking a look at the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and then on the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and then the fingerprint sensor, which is also the power button. Then up top here, we have the noise-canceling microphone, and then on the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, speaker, and we have the actual stylus itself, which I'll be showing you in a second here. Then on the back of the phone, we have the camera module, we have the Motorola logo, and then we have this kind of glossy, wavy finish on the back of the phone. And while it does look nice, it does also certainly pick up a lot of fingerprints, so that is something worth keeping in mind. But in general, I think this phone is decently stylish, and it certainly doesn't feel cheap by any means. Of course, it is a budget option, especially when compared to $1,000 smartphones, for example. But for what it is, I feel like the quality is actually pretty good here. Now, one of the major highlights of the Moto G Stylus 2022, as the name does imply, is that we are getting a stylus here with the phone. And the stylus does feature a punch out, punch in design here, which is pretty nice as well. And as soon as you remove the stylus from the phone, you'll be getting some options here on the right side of the device. Now you can customize this for other apps of your liking, and the Play Store is full of all kinds of different third-party stylus-friendly apps, so that's also worth keeping in mind. But if you want to, you can easily create a drawing or write a note. So there we go. Pretty awesome. So you could draw things, you can write things down as well. You can, of course, type things in if you wanted to as well. So certainly a lot of different options and abilities when it comes to using the stylus with the Moto G Stylus 2022. Now I will be doing a dedicated video pretty soon here on the channel going over a bunch of different things that you can do with the stylus, so stay tuned for that. But at least for now, just know that I'm glad that the phone has that feature. It's certainly not gimmicky by any means. It might depend on who you are and how you like to use your phone as to whether or not you're actually going to be using the stylus pretty often or not. But I don't think anyone can really deny that having the stylus is certainly a pretty practical feature, especially compared to some of the various gimmicks that smartphone manufacturers tend to include with their devices nowadays. But this concludes my hands-on and first impressions video of the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022. In general, I think this is a very exciting device from Motorola. I'm glad that they continue to kind of evolve and improve the Moto G Stylus lineup of devices. Of course, in some ways, Motorola could be doing an even better job with their Moto G Stylus series, but at the same time, the Moto G Stylus 2022 does seem like a decent handset, and I'm certainly looking forward to spending more time with it, so I can give you my final opinions about it in my full review video. But I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the Moto G Stylus 2022. My name is Kevin, and I will see you in the next one.